Let's do a little supplemental for historic talk. Haven't done one in a long time. I had a question once, I forget who it was, so refresh my memory. Whoever asked this question, they asked the question of why I like historics. You know, why do I play them, and why do I not sell all my goddamn historics and get a fucking vintage guitar, proper vintage guitar, and all that, that kind of thing. So it's quite simple, really. I like historics. I've played a whole bunch of vintage guitars. I've had the opportunities to play all these wonderful vintage guitars, and they were readily available to me. So I really got to see how they really are, and how they sound, and all of the myths about them, and that were not true, and some that were true, and whatnot and so forth. And then I have all the people that we all know from the Les Paul Forum and other people, Victor Parr and everybody else, and we learned all the information and facts about these guitars from them. And well, they came out with the historic collection in '93, and by 2002 they had perfected it for the most part. They just needed to fine-tune the last three things, and then by today, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't see the point in buying a 59 Les Paul because you have these now. No, they're not 60-year-old instruments. No, the lacquer is not exactly the correct lacquer as it should be. Like I said, we still have fine-tuning to do to get them the way they actually should be. But the whole point and the whole purpose of historic Les Pauls was to recreate the original Les Paul. They're not reissues. They weren't meant to be reissues. They were meant to be replicas. They were meant to be maxes. That's what they were meant to be. Modern versions of the exact design. So if you're going to split hairs, and we're going to really get into this bullshit, whether there's, a burst sounds a certain way and you can't replicate it, I find that to be untrue. I really do find that to be untrue. I find that historic will do the job, and will do the job quite well. And I can guarantee you, and I say this right off the bat, I can guarantee you, if you took somebody in a room and you sat them down and you blindfolded them and you played a 1959 Les Paul and then you played a 2022 historic 1959 Les Paul with the changes that we do to them, as in changing the pickups and the pots and whatnot and getting it all hot rodded out, I guarantee you the person sitting there could not tell the difference. Or the person sitting there would say, wow, those are two really good sounding vintage guitars. I guarantee you. And I could say that. And I'm also talking about changing the finish, sending it to Kim and have him redo his finish and do his magic. Why do I say that? Well, if you look at the '02 show from the Led Zeppelin reunion show, and you pay close attention to the back of the Jimmy's headstocks, he plays a lot of songs with his historic and not his fucking original number one. Now remember, number one is, I saw number one every other day when I went to the Met to go see it. It's in a little shitty shape. I mean, it's there, it's intact, it's not falling apart, but it's an old guitar, it's been used a lot, so he has a copy, why not fucking use it? Did anybody notice? Can you point out which fucking songs he's playing with historic and which ones he's playing with this fucking thing? No. Why? Because they're fucking playing through all the PAs and all the other fucking shit and all this and other thing. And if you're gonna fucking argue the point, well, Joe Bonamassa, I don't want to hear anything about Joe Bonamassa either, because it's the same fucking story. Joe used historics for a long time until all of a sudden he started buying bursts, uncontrollably, until he got his money. When he got his money, he went a little nuts, which is fine, because I guess we all would in that situation. I know I would. But I wouldn't buy vintage. I really wouldn't. I was offered vintage. I was offered gold tops a few times. Bursts, alright, I'm not that fucking crazy. I can't afford a burst. There's no way in hell. Not even if I sold all the shit I have now and plus all the shit I had then, I still couldn't afford a burst. But I wouldn't want one. I really wouldn't want one. I played a few of them. They're nice. But if you break a fucking switch tip, it's $900. You know, why? You know, the fact of their rarity and the fact of their collectability, in my opinion, has ruined them as instruments. I find that to be a shame. That only like millionaires can, you know, afford these instruments. Most of them, you know, they just stick them on a fucking wall. Or, you know, most of them are not musicians per se. You know, Joe Bonamassa buys them and he uses them. Well, great. Joe Bonamassa has millions of dollars and he can do that. But we can't. So we have the next best thing. It is the next best thing. There's nothing wrong with historic Les Pauls. They are the real thing. There's not like, oh, they're reissues. They're not reissues, because if anybody remembers the reissues from the fucking late 80s and the, you know, mid 80s, those are reissues. These are very far from reissues. They may have an R inside the control cavity. That's just a manufacturing mark. You know that, right? That's all that is in reality. I like the way they sound. I'll put up my historics up against the burst any day. This is 23. Everybody knows 23, right? And 23 has its original finish. I never changed the finish on 23, so she even has the original finish. You know, there you go, original finish. I can't change it now because it's like, look, what am I gonna do? Take that off? Come on. So and there's a few things to say about metal parts and changing out things. Okay, I want to clear the air with this shit because I'm really tired of it. This bridge is made correctly with the correct material. The saddles are brass as they should be. Okay, the posts, these posts I changed. But here's the thing: when I did change these posts, and I changed these posts, was there a dramatic, massive change in tone? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, you really had to listen to it. If I took out this guitar and I took out one of my other ones that I didn't change the post and they had the original post that the guitar came with, could you tell me the difference? I guarantee you wouldn't be able to. So, be careful when you get people that market shit that say, oh look, we made it with the correct alloy. It's not possible today. You don't believe me? Look up John Throwback, watch a couple of his videos. He explains how you can't make the alloys today for the wire, for the magnets, for the parts. He explains it in great detail. You can only get close. You can't get exactly anymore. That's just the way it is. It's not 1959 anymore. It's 2022, 2023. But as a musician, again, like I say, they're fabulous instruments. There's nothing wrong with them. And I'd rather have 1,059 historic Les Pauls instead of 159 original Les Paul. Why would I want such a thing like that? Why? For what reason? Sell all your Les Pauls and I'll get you this gold top. Why? That's no fun. I want to have a whole bunch of them. You know? There's nothing wrong with this. If Jimmy Page can use this on stage, if Billy Gibbons can use this on stage, and amongst other people use them on stage, sorry, but you know, your expensive guitars are just that. They're just expensive guitars. And again, let's go over something and be very, very clear about something. A 1959 Les Paul is only that much money because there's less than 1,700 of them in the world. Do you know how many historics there are in the world? Do you know how many historics, after 30 fucking years, you know how many of these things there are? You really think these are going to be worth money in the future? I'm sorry, but they're just not. That's why a vintage guitar is worth a lot of money. It's not because of what they sound like. It's because of their rarity. That's why they're expensive. That's it. That's the only reason. Period. The $600,000 that people are paying for a burst is not because it's just so amazing. It sounds so amazing. It's worth $600,000. That's complete nonsense. It's worth $600,000 because there's not that many of them in the world. So let's get that straight. I really should get that straight. Let's get one other thing straight. And we get one other thing straight. It's very important. There is no such thing as the 1959 model, the 1958 model, and the 1960 model. Okay, no such thing as that. From 1952 to 1960, the changes in the Les Paul, from pickups to neck angle to bridge and pick, all that shit, all those things have changed in color, and from the gold top to the burst. That happened slowly throughout the years. Okay, the only reason why you have the 1959 historic and the 1958 historic and the 1957 historic is called marketing, so that it gives you an option. Well, the neck is really thick on this. It must be a 57. That's not how it works in the world of vintage guitars. Some 57s have thick necks, some a little thinner, and they're all different, right? Historics are all different also. They're a little bit more uniform than the vintage counterparts. But the only reason why they say this one is a 1959 is so that they could charge you a little extra money because that's the 59 and not the 58. It's the same guitar. Okay? So let's remember that. It wasn't January 1st, 1958, and they decided, let's make all the guitars sunburst. It didn't work like that. There's plenty of 1958 gold tops. It wasn't January 1st, 1960, and that's it, we're making every guitar with a slim tapered neck. No, it didn't work like that. Let's get that straight. Marketing is a very big thing. This is how they sell things. This is how they sell everything in the fucking world. This is how they sell all things from fucking picks, to Canada Dry Seltzer, to, I don't know, the headphones, This is better than this because of this and because of that. And wait, make sure that you get the new model from the next year. And this is how they do things. Back in the 1950s, it was the Les Paul model. Here's the Les Paul model. Oh, we're going to change that. We're about to change that. We're going to put these new pickups in we got. Now, pretty soon, you'll see them coming out. That's how it happened. But today, it's not how it happened. Today, we make this one and that one and that one and this one and that one. I remember also, in 1959, if you wanted a gold top with P90s, you couldn't just walk into a guitar store and buy one because it didn't exist anymore. They stopped making them that way. I guess you could custom order it. I don't think there are any. Check your ledges, Go ask Victor Parr on that question. But, once they discontinued something, that was it. Today, you could buy a 56, 58, 59, all in the same fucking year, you know what I mean? But that's not how it works. So we have to remember that when we're looking at historics, because historics are the same. This neck is nice, comfortable neck, right? But I have another 59. It's completely fucking different, and it goes for the top too. Top, no such thing as a 59 top. Get that out of your head. Doesn't exist. Get it out of your head. Doesn't exist. Why do I say this? Because when you pull out the 60th anniversary and the 50th anniversary and the 40th anniversary and the 70th anniversary and the 100th anniversary, Gibson does anniversaries every 5 seconds. Any time they can blink, they'll do an anniversary because they want you to buy a guitar. But again, as a musician, I love my historics. Nothing wrong with them. Highly recommend them. So enjoy them. They're not museum pieces. You're not going to make millions of dollars off of them in the future. You're not going to sell them to your fucking grandchildren and they're going to be like millionaires in the future. You're going to spend your $6,000, your $5 fucking grand. Enjoy your $5,000, your $6,000 that you spent on it, because, life is very short. We don't live that long. So, 100 years at the most. You can't take it with you, and we don't know what happens afterwards. So, fuck it. Stop worrying about it. You got the money? You want to buy one? Buy it. Enjoy what the fuck you bought. Don't worry about it.